Hi, welcome to this video. My name is Hilda Campos and I'm 36. Um, I wanted to start talking about this because honestly, like I talk to a lot of people. There are people who know like what I'm going through. Um, we're all different. We have so many different personalities and like some people just listen. Some people right away they just tell you like what's wrong and like you should do this and whatever. Um, I have two kids. I'm a single mom. And I've come to realize how this world seems so insensitive to like the way people perceive things and the way that they like express themselves for it or about it. Um, I'm gonna say I went back a whole year. Um, I've been dealing with the separation of the father of my kids and I because um we have been in each other's lives for like 14 years. And it sometimes seems like a lot, but it's really not that much because, like my kids are still a little young. Um, it's the way the things that people say to me that make me think like I don't want to hold on to him like forcefully. Like this is, I know what I feel. And like I know there's a lot of people that have moved on and they do find that um like a comfort, like eventually to just feel like they overcome their problem. um the way I think about the world is like I never ever really thought I was gonna have kids, like for real. Because I saw like how my mom struggled, with raising us. It was my dad used to hit her and he used to drink all the time and it was like really hard. It was like it was hard because I had to grow up being scared of that, like her being hit, you know. And but she was so like hardworking and loving and kind, and she did so many nice things for us. And here's about that, like people say like, oh, she wants to be there, and oh, she's like, you don't ever know what drives a person to deal with so much, whether it's like a family cycle of abuse or whatever. And like even now as I'm here, what people say like, oh, if you're allowing this, your daughter, what is she gonna go through? The truth is like, I'm just gonna say this. We all have opinions, we all have comments and ideas and certain way of looking at things. We all have an expression. Like I don't want to be the kind of person that blocks anybody because we're all entitled to our opinion. Everybody gets like a certain idea of the way, the represent certain situations. I personally, like, I think about my situation. I'm like, I don't want to be stuck in this. Like, this is a person who has moved on. Like, he's done so many things that make me feel like, what am I holding on to? Like what am I still holding on to? And like people are like, oh, you'll find somebody, and there are so many good men out there. I know there are. And love is real. I know that. Um, I don't want to be a victim and I don't want to like feel like I'm giving up, but I look back at how I've been and I've never been the girl that the guy chooses. I've never been the girl that, you know, has like all these boyfriends or like there's always someone to date. I've never been that. Um, one of my friends asked me, was like, how's it that you guys lasted so long? Well, because I care about him. Because, you know what I mean? Like, and I have to say that when I met him, like I said, I met him in my 20s, and like he was just like a random person passing by. Like, he's cute, and he caught my eye because he had like really pretty eyes, and like his mustache was blonde, and like his face was just like, like he was a cute guy. And he was actually, it's funny because he was with people I already knew. Sometimes I like, the destiny thing, like, oh, you guys were meant to meet and everything. And here's the thing, sometimes people say that, and like, what do you categorize as like, yeah, you were meant to meet? Because the way I see it is, it's so many things to address. Here's one. Um, People say like, oh, I met, so and so and blah blah blah, and it's like, look at the circumstance when you met, and what situation, and what you're living. Um, Him and I met in a moment where my life was like, I was fine. Like, I didn't need anybody. I wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't worried about any of that stuff. I was fine. Like, I was in a good place. Like, I was just whatever. And my thinking of why we met is because I'm not saying that nobody needs to save anybody, like people say, but you learn from people. Like, you learn things from people like everybody else thinks. What I learned from him is, I mean, we seriously, like, we're living in a world it's so screwed up. Like, it's really screwed up. And it's scary. It's scary because I have my two kids, and, what are they going to grow into? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of situations? Um, it's one thing that we have to remember, this world is in the power of Satan. And a lot of times people think, when you start thinking about talking about religion and like Jehovah and Satan, it's like, oh, you're crazy or stuff like that. No, actually, things that happen, a lot of these horrible things that happen are because of that. Um, when the father of my kids met this woman that he has totally lost sight of everything that he wanted, you know, he had. Um, you could say that they were meant to meet each other, or maybe that's what she thinks, you know what I mean? But one thing I've realized is, and people say it all the time, if you go to church, you know this, you've heard this. Satan is like a lion. He's just prowling to find prey. And he's constantly looking for the next victim. And he will put things in your path that make you, first of all, they tempt you, and they make you think that you need them. I'm not saying that I'm like perfect or the best thing that ever happened to him in his life, but I do believe that there's people that lead you to good things, or kind of help you in a certain way, and there are people who drag you away from the light. You know what I mean? Um, I have a lot of anger in me. I wake up a lot in the morning at like 4, and just remember, the first thing in my mind is like, he's not coming back. Like, he's gone. And she's pregnant, from what I heard. She's pregnant. You have to understand that it's been a year of her saying that she was pregnant, like, constantly. She lost some babies, and this is the reason why I say a lot of people think, like, oh, like it was just not meant to be, and like, oh, you need to move on. It's hard for me to accept that, because Jehovah would not try a relationship like that. That's just not, I believe he is love. And I don't think that separating and taking away somebody's father is going to be a way for him to see if you are loyal or not. I don't think so. I know that evil exists and it is very in control of this world. And if you go looking, or if you're not alert, you will be sucked into this world. Like, you really will be. There are things that I have done that I know that I probably won't be forgiven, and the only thing I can do is ask for forgiveness and pray. Um, I know that he's confused in a sense, not completely, because you're a grown up, you're a mature person. Like, the logical thing is to be responsible, even if it's just for his kids and not me anymore. But here's the thing, I'm so used to him coming and going, and it's like, maybe, everyone's like, oh, it's because you allow him and da 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 da. He's already got you all figured out. I don't need him to figure me out like that. Like, oh, I can do whatever I want. No, because this is how I feel. Like, the one thing that I want the most is for him to give his kids what he didn't have. He didn't have like a steady home. His family was broken. Like, he ended up leaving his house at 12 years old. What does a 12-year-old have to go out in the world to do? Like, at 12 years old, I think I was barely, plucking my eyebrows or something. I don't know. Like, you're still a child. Like, you're barely growing into an adolescent. So he's, you know, all these things, like, they're this pain in my chest. Like, people say, well, you guys were meant to be, and like soulmates and like all that. Just remember that Eve was created from Adam's ribs. You know, I don't think the toxic label and love to a certain perfection or whatever, like, we live in an imperfect world where love isn't going to be perfect, and things do happen, and we make a lot of mistakes, and we are tempted a lot. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I'm really not. Like, it's funny because I'm angry, but at the same time, it's more pain than anger. And like, I think about it and I'm just like, it hurts. Like, it's so hurt inside of me. Like, it makes me sad for my kids, because I think, like, I love them so much. How can you not love them? And it's things like, you hear people say, oh, well, he just doesn't even care about himself. That's why he doesn't care about his kids. And like, oh, it won't last. And, oh, she's going to make him pay for all that he's doing to you. And, oh, he's going to pay for it. That's the world we live in. Like, why do we have to pay? Why do you have to suffer to learn? Um, every decision I've made, like, oh, being with him or staying by his side, is like, yeah, at a point you feel stupid, and you feel like tired of it, and you say it's not worth it. All I do now is pray, like, for him and pray for myself, because I know that there is something that I need to let go of, you know. Um, I have a sister that she constantly, like, yells at me, or like on Facebook, she'll like post a comment, if I put a picture of him and I I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Right now, this is like, it's hard because in my mind, it feels like my mind is my own enemy. My mind is constantly telling me, he'll come back. He'll come back. He'll be back. And, you still want him. You still want to be with him. And there's a part of me like, why would I want to put myself through the last time that he was here? It was so disrespectful. Like, I know I don't deserve that. And I wanted to lose weight. And I know that I'm fine. Like, it's not me. It's funny because I see all these things. And yes, I can't help but to feel like I'm in competition with her. And I know that I can't be because her and I are two different people. She's rude. She was a liar. She doesn't hide the evil that's inside of her. Like, she doesn't hide it at all. She's constantly talking about how, like, that's her husband, and like, I'm the one that's this and I'm the one that's that, and blah blah blah, like always telling me she was gonna fight me and everything. And it's like, what kind of a woman am I? What kind of a person do I want to be? Well, I don't want to be the kind of person that's constantly fighting for someone's attention. I don't want to be the kind of person that has to prove something to someone. And that's where I know that I know that I have to let it go, because sadly, as women, I feel like we should help each other. Like, you know what? He was this and that, and he was that and this, and like, learn how to really walk away from like a guy who doesn't know how to keep it in his pants. Like, for example, when I was 13, I was introduced to this guy, and he like liked me. We went out on a date. I ended up making out with him, and then I ended up finding out that he was married. One, I didn't really like him, so it was easy for me to say, you know what, like, and I've never been the kind of person that's like trying to get something out of whatever that would be, money or like whatever, like, I've just never been like that. So I just was like, no, you know what, that's not for me, like, no thank you. And I just cut it out, like, from there. Even like just a few, like maybe 2 years ago, same thing. And it's really sad because this guy was like literally telling me, like, you're gonna be a side chick. If what the father of my kids is doing to me tears me up inside because I love him, why would I literally say, yeah, I agree to being someone's second choice on purpose? What I'm living is not a choice that I'm making. I'm kind of just going as it happens. You know what I mean? Like, people was like, oh, he's going to come back and you'll just take him back. Well, because I still want us to, it's like you always say, like, if you don't want to be with someone, just tell them. Don't drag them along. Don't string them along. Just say, you know what? Like, I'm not interested in you. It's so simple. Like, yes, you're going to hurt that person, but it's seriously, like, this is true. Like, they'll cry for a while, but they'll be fine. Because then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and then, you know what I mean? I have always told myself, like, I just couldn't possibly be that, you know what I mean? So, I realized that, there's always going to be that one guy that thinks that he's so hot that, you know what, you're not going to care about being the other woman. I realize that I'm not the prettiest woman in the world. I'm not even sexy or whatever. But that's one thing I don't want. And I've been living that, feeling now like like I am the other woman. We had been together for maybe 7 years, about maybe. It's been more. It's like it's so confusing because I'm like, what do I really count? Because there were good years and then there were bad years. Do we count 14 years of us being together? I don't know. Like, I'm not a wise person. And here's the thing. Like I said before, you can't really take everyone's advice on everything because people don't live the same thing. People don't live the same experiences. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different point of view at looking things. Some people live really bad childhoods and they become really strong, independent people. Some people have like, it's just we're all different. Like we all take everything, every experience differently. Like I look at myself and I'm like, I see people who have moved on and then they, have a boyfriend and then another boyfriend and another boyfriend. I'm like, that's not what I want. I wanted to, when I was younger, like I lived my life, and I probably lived it way too fast. And then I realized, like, now that I met him, there's only one person that I wanted to spend my life with. There's only one person that I wanted to give my body to. There's only one person that I can see my whole life with. This person doesn't see that anymore. Why? Because there is someone out there that's giving him that. There is someone out there that's letting him see that he can be without me. That this isn't such a big deal and important. But I feel like, are we playing a game of chairs? Like one goes away, but there's still more. It's sad. It's sad because my kids are forever. They're for my life. That's exactly what I planned. I know that I made mistakes and I can be held accountable and I've apologized to him for it. But at the same time, it's like, what about your mistakes? And here I am, And it's like, you can't force anybody to be with you. You can't force anybody to be responsible. You can't force anybody to stay with you. And I'm not. He has left me quite a bit of times now. And it's like, as much as I like feel for him and like want him to be by my side, like I also realize that there's a limit to like how much I can tell him to get to him. And it's like, I let him, and it's not that I'm letting him get away with it, but that's how it feels like. Like he'll be here. I'll be, I'll try to be as calm as I can, not trying to fight with him and be okay with him and everything. And then it's like, in a flash, like he just decides, you know, kind of like, it's so sad because it's like he's a puppet, like pulling him and then he releases him and then pulls him and then releases him. And it's affecting me because people are like, why do you accept him? Why do you allow him to come back to the house? It's not my fault that they have a screwed up relationship, whatever it is. But my need to like wanting to be, we can get through this. Like, we'll be okay. You do not, I know in the Bible says that adultery and all that, like if somebody does that to you, you have the right to move on. Like I said, it's been a year. And it felt so bad because I'm like, I went back like a whole year. Like last October, it was the same thing. And this time it feels like maybe like for real, like he's gone. Before he used to say, oh, well, because you're the mother of my kids. Like, I'll never leave you. But now it's like, now it's not even important because she's having a kid with him. And I think it's really sad because I know he's the one that got her pregnant. I know that. But like I said, this woman, I do have anger towards her, obviously. And I know that she could have protected herself towards that. Like, if he's not going to use protection, I will. Because I see how he's treating his other kids, you know? When you love someone, you try to help that person, I would think. You don't want them to struggle more than they should have to. Why would you get pregnant when you see that you and him are not doing well? When you see that he is not taking care of you financially? That you're supposed to, like, here's the thing. To me, her pregnancy is nothing but like, I'm going to get pregnant because I can. And because I'm going to get him to completely walk away from them. And I know it's not all her. I know that. But it's like I said before, me and him, it's a two-sided story. Same thing with them. She decided that from the beginning, she was going to keep him somehow, one way or the other. She's going to be his baby mama now. How is that going to be removed? Never. Like, forever, she's going to be his baby mama. She constantly, like I said, I talked to her. It's stupid. I know I shouldn't have. Because it does really, the kind of person that you are. Here's the thing. When the first time I ever talked to her, and I was like, I want to know what's going on because he hadn't told me nothing. The first thing she said to me was like, I've been with him for 3 years and we have a child together. This was in August. She did not have a kid with him, and she had barely been with him for like 3 months. I'm not trying to fight you for him. I wanted to know because he wasn't being honest with me. Like, he wasn't telling me what was going on. Here's the thing. Even as much as I love him, and this hurts me and affects me, and I'm devastated, and all this that I have to, like, get, out of my system. If you tell me that it's over, what could I possibly do? I'm not going to hurt myself because I have kids. I'm not going to hurt you because I care about you. Like, I wouldn't possibly find any benefit to, like, you being in pain. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. I really would have wished that he would have been honest with me to the point where it's like, you know what, like, I started dating and you and I simply, we're done. We're over. I could tell when things started to change, but part of me wanted to believe that we had overcome so many issues because, time had passed, and he was constantly like, I want my family back. It's a really long story. It's like my whole everything, but we were separated. And I was like constantly with him by his side, like he knew that I was invested. So when he started to date this woman, like, all of a sudden I couldn't use his phone. All of a sudden, like, he would seem serious and mad at me for no reason at all. It's like, you asked me to come over to your house, but you're mad now? What's wrong with you? The first time I ever saw her face, she was posted on his Facebook. I was like, nobody could have given me a heads up. I was not I'm not the type of person that's a jealous person, because it's obvious, men, like I've met guys to this extent where I'm like, if he wants to be with someone else, so be it. There's no point in fighting over someone or trying to keep someone forcefully by your side. There's just no point. This is why, like, I don't understand why it's so hard for me with him. I think that it's because of next level. Like, literally, I never thought I would get married. Like, I thought I would always stay single. Like, I thought I was going to be this single Thea and never have kids. And lo and behold, we have 2 kids together. Talk about marriage all the time. The reason why we didn't get married is because I ended up coming down to TJ to live with him because, well, tecate, because he was deported and I wanted to be with him. When I got pregnant with my son, my mom was looking into all that, and so it was like time to wait. And I never like pressure him, like you have to, like you need to. I never did that. It was all a matter of waiting and waiting and waiting.